found myself wondering what would it be like in RimWorld to start a massive logging company where our main and basically only export is timber, and we try to become millionaires off of timber. So I decided to try and find out. Starting this logging empire with Birch. Birch is going to be the founder of the StarDust logging company. Birch begins with a very small list of items. He has a cigar, his trusty axe, and his grandpappy's musket, as well as the clothes on his back. We're not going to be starting with any food or anything like that. For all that, we'll need to forage and hunt. But that wouldn't be a problem for good old Birch here. He's a bit of a roughneck boy. Growing up, he was a farm kid, tending crops and things like that, and of course he grew up to be a logger, so naturally he would start his own logging company. As you can see with Birch's stats, he's pretty good with most things except for mining and cooking, but he is amazing at plants, intellectual, things of that sort. But enough about all this skills and cooking and all that dumb shit. It's time to start cutting down our first trees and begin setting up our log camp in this territory. Naturally, just like all other beginner entrepreneurs, we are dirt-ass poor, so we can't afford to buy a home or anything like that, so we're going to have to build our own out of the logs that we cut down. We began work on a small little log cabin for us to stay nice and cozy inside. Fairly cozy, I mean, it's a dirt floor and there's grass everywhere, so I assume it'll be pretty comfortable as a pillow. I'm not really sure. Now, given that the sky is crying like it's going out of style, and by that I mean that it's raining, we're going to need a spot for our logs, so we built a small little section off the side of our cabin to store them in the dry. Because believe me when I say that nobody wants to purchase any soggy-ass logs. Now, moving all that timber out of the wet, rainy rain and into the dry has made Birch a little bit peckish. Could he go for some berries? Sure, but he also has his musket, and there's plenty of wild rabbits in this area. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, just as his pappy before him had taught him to go out hunting like that for his food, he shot that rabbit, went over to it, and started he's not skinning it all. Oh my god, he's eating it raw. Well, with his gut full of raw rabbit meat and fur, I assume he had to eat the fur along with it. He began cutting down some more trees before, well, he got a little bit tired and finally went to bed in his log cabin for the first night. And you know, now that I think about it, after witnessing Birch eat a rabbit raw, fur and all, everything, I didn't even see any bones left. I assume he ate that as well, sucked the marrow out. He probably doesn't give a shit about laying on the ground because he's a complete psychopath. The following morning, Birch goes out, and instead of going and killing some innocent, small, fuzzy, friendly animal and eating it just whole like that, he decided to harvest some berries instead. Thank God. And I suppose he had the bright idea that, hey, you know what would be cool? What if we had an area to prep food instead of eating it raw, and a place we could put some tables and chairs, that way we could sit while we ate. So he began building a nice little kitchen onto his log cabin. And the following night, he also began planting some rice crops. And I hear you say to me, Rat Knight, this is supposed to be about logging. What's all this shit about rice and steel and all this other stuff that he's doing? Well, look, dear viewer, you need to understand that sometimes to make lemonade, you can't always use wood. You have to use lemons. If he were a beaver, sure, he could eat the wood, and that would be a much more interesting idea for a series than what I'm doing, but, I don't know. But nevertheless, I digress. Birch begins building a beautiful fueled stove in his brand new kitchen, as well as a wonderful varnished butchering table for all his animal corpses. That's assuming that there's going to be any left after he's done mangling them with his teeth, the freak. And as you can see, as Birch tests the butchering table out, it works just fine, and he'll finally be able to start cooking himself some meals. That way he's not eating all that raw food, as we mentioned. This dining room / kitchen will also be servicing the entire logging camp once we have more members who eventually join us, whether it be by force or their own will. However, Birch has big dreams of lots and lots and lots of logs, timber, all that wonderful wooden junk. So he began work on a large warehouse where we could store all this wood and keep it in the dry, but also inside. Birch's daydreaming was cut a bit short, though, by a beautifully handsome pirate woman with a cutlass who was going to come and stab him in the liver or something, and if that happened, there wouldn't be any wood, so we couldn't allow that to happen. So, naturally, as the attacker began approaching our logging camp, Birch was firing the old musket at her. He managed to get one shot in, but she kept on chasing him. Well, that is until he shot her smack dab right between the eyes and killed her, and then she hit the ground and died and dropped her cutlass and her silver. However, chivalry was not dead, as Birch was a true gentleman. He was not going to let this lady's corpse lay out here in the open. Some freak could come along and nibble on her toesies or something. So he dug a scroungy little hole next to some rocks and threw her inside it. The next day I caught Birch lying out in the open, staring up at the sky, no doubt just dreaming of all the wood and money he's going to make, and he also might have been thinking of the lady that he had to kill. That could be it too. That night, Birch built a wonderful little bed in his cabin, as well as worked on some slate tiles to beautify the place so he's not constantly having mental breaks, taking him away from logging. Speaking of logging, we finally got back to it with Birch. We gave him an entire day to begin some deforestation. That way we could make a little bit of moolah finally. And I hear you say, finally, Rat Knight, this is a logging empire. And to you I say, yes it is. We're cutting trees. I'm sorry. We ended up having a guy named Happy who refused to leave. He wanted to join us, said he had nowhere else to go. So we said, hey, what the hell, come on and join us and cut some trees, pal. And if you're an observant viewer, you probably just noticed that I had the opportunity to name this place and the faction the StarDust Logging Company, and I didn't do it. Why didn't I do it? I wasn't paying attention. I'm a little bit lazy, but that's okay, we'll change it later. We sent Happy out to feed some tame some donkeys to haul wood, but it was unsuccessful. Late one rainy, stormy night, though, we had a single solo pirate who was carrying a pirate flag who was going to come and try to plant it in our head, I suppose. But we could not allow that to happen either, as if we were to die, who would log all of this timber? No, this just will not do. We had to turn around with our melee weapons and plant an axe firmly in this freak's face, that way he couldn't stop us. To which we did firmly plant it right in his face. 'Twas wonderful. Sometime later, Happy Oak was out in the forest playing with an ass, and he ended up taming it. You know how that goes. So we decided that we should probably give everyone and everything wood names, so I named it Hickory. Don't get too attached to it, though. Now that we finally had a pack animal, we began scouting out local settlements nearby to sell some of our high-quality timber to. We found a British settlement that we knew would need the wood for houses, fortifications, genocides. Probably. Anyhow, though, good old Happy Oak went to the wood warehouse and began stocking Hickory up with plenty and plenty of timber so we could go ahead and sell it to them. Naturally, the path to the British settlement took quite a while, as there was no road from our settlement to theirs. We're a very small logging company, but maybe eventually we'll install a mod so we can build a road out to them once we're actually a logging settlement. I think this is the part when I was playing as well that I realized how this really was going to go, because wood is nothing. It sells for basically nothing. They essentially just trade us dirt for the timber that we cut down. So we'll have to sell a lot of timber to actually make any type of money, and I would love for us to become an extremely rich settlement in this. I mean, wood isn't horrible. It could definitely be worse. So, we're doing the right thing as well. A great, honest logging company. That's what we're aiming for here. I mean, are we in the Victorian era? Are we in like a Western kind of era? Am I sitting in my living room talking to myself into a microphone? I mean, these are all great questions here. But the questions are going to have to wait, because we have a warehouse to build. Now, I'm not going to store any wood or anything in here. I have the one warehouse for that, but we're kind of getting some other items, and we need a place to put them. Just as well, I'd like to have a section for a stone cutting bench and art table, all that junk. We ended up having a 3-year-old child calling for help from nearby. He was being chased by 2 man-hunting monkeys. His name was Larry. So we allowed Larry to join us in the hopes that we could teach this young lad how to cut down trees as he grows. So we killed the monkeys for him and let him stay with us. As to how this 3-year-old child made a coherent sentence to explain these monkeys to us, I have no idea. Sometime later, we had a Thromboian person. That's a person who is like a humanoid thrombo thing. Anyhow, they had a club and they were coming to sack us and beat us over the head with it. So naturally, we can't allow that to happen because if we die, then there's no timber, as I've mentioned, so we are going to have to kill him. Or, since he's not dead, I guess we could brainwash him into joining us and force him to cut trees. So that's the route we decided to take. We decided to try to recruit this Thrombo person. The problem with that was he wasn't very happy about being stuck in a little room and talked to every so often, and he decided to try and have a prison break. He was almost successful as well. He even was brandishing Birch's rifle, but Happy Oak did not like this and came in with his cutlass and started slicing and dicing. During the event, poor young Larry was hiding in the corner. This was the second time he was injured by the Thrombo person, though. The first time he lost an arm, the second time he lost his hand. So he's not very good at manipulation, as you could imagine. So Happy Oak had the bright idea that we should install a wooden hand on this child's little stump arm. That way he could at least draw his little floor drawings with something other than his teeth. And also that way he wouldn't be totally useless. Some time had passed and we had another pirate raider who was coming to try and murder us. You know how it goes. Now this one was equipped with a wonderful flintlock pistol and I was very interested in obtaining that. Now while the pirate was planning out his raiding plans, we ended up recruiting the Thrombo man, thank God. Now he's on our side and he can help us kick ass. But when the raider came, he was having a mental break, hiding in his room, so he was pretty damn useless. Lucky for us, though, Birch is a good old eagle eye, and with one shot he managed to take out the naked pirate who was shivering out in the cold with his little flintlock pistol. Oh, now it's ours, and we're going to take it, and we're going to use it to kill more pirates. Now, it was around this point that I realized that our donkey Hickory, I don't really know what happened to it. I think it may have wandered off when we were busy or something, so we needed to try and tame more animals. There were plenty of yaks in the area, and I decided to give that a shot. Happy Oak managed to tame one, and I appropriately named it Hickory 2 because, Hickory 1 died or ran away or something. Sometime later, Happy Oak had managed to tame another yak, so we loaded him and both the yaks up with plenty of high-quality timber for the tea-drinking Brits to buy. Not too long after returning from this trip, though, we ended up having a pretty good-sized raid of tribesmen. They were actually riding some ibex rams and whatnot, and they were actually kind of threatening. But that was okay though, we had a plan. They rode their ibex and we rode our yaks into battle. Now instead of trying to take range combat to them, because our weapons, though they were powerful, were fairly inaccurate compared to their bows, we began to go melee with our cutlasses and axes and whatnot. We met them on the battlefield. Unfortunately for the tribes people, they had to find out the hard way that the StarDust Logging Company was willing and able to defend its timber. Just like Birch's grandpappy always told him, "Grandson, if an axe can cut down a tree, it can cut down a man." Throughout late winter, there really wasn't too much to do with all the snow on the ground in terms of expanding, so we just began cutting down more and more timber. That way we could have a massive stockpile once the ground thawed out, and we could take it over to the Brits and make a little bit of silver off of it. When it was all said and done, we had a stockpile just shy of 2,000 logs. Now that seems like quite a bit, but look, we're looking to really stuff this warehouse, and we're looking to really do some trading with this timber. I mean, we gotta make an empire here. At this point, I would probably classify us as maybe like a small to mid-sized logging camp with very few members to really man it. However, we had plenty of animals, as Cedar, our Thrombo person, and Happy Oak have been doing plenty of taming with the yaks. Just as well, the yaks have been making a little bit of lovin's, and they had a few babies as well. So many, in fact, that we ended up having to build a bigger pen to store them all in. And this larger pen would be perfect because we plan on having lots and lots of inbred yak babies to carry all of our timber over to the Brits and the French and the Prussians and honestly anyone who will buy it, but the Brits are closest to us right now. We began planning our largest timber caravan yet to the British settlement. We began stocking every single yak, and yes, I mean every one, even the little baby ones, with plenty of high-quality wood. Look, kids don't get it easy in the logging camp, okay? Even the one-armed 3-year-old that we took in has to sweep the floors every so often. Yes, sir, indeed, though, our little logging camp was really coming along. We were all finally happy, we were all finally making some money, and really that's all we all wanted to do. Except for Cedar, he wanted to murder us, but now he wants to make money, and little Larry just wanted to not get eaten by any monkeys, and hey, look at him, he's semi-intact, so we're all good, everything's fine. It was pouring a rain when Happy Oak got back from that trade, and we got we got 824 silver. That's okay. Sometime later, though, we had a lady man-beast creature stating they had nowhere else to go and loved to join our logging camp and make a little bit of dough with us, so we allowed her to join us. Her name was Fitz, and she was very nice and hairy. Now, she was horrible with plants, so she couldn't really cut any logs. However, she was wonderful with animals, so she could tend to our yaks for us, and they carry the logs, we cut the logs, it's one big happy cycle. Fitz was also carrying a wonderful new age technological weapon of sorts. It was called a revolver, and we didn't understand it. All we knew was flintlock, but it was a very interesting weapon, and, if it protects our yaks and our wood, we love it. Birch also decided to start working on a boarding house. Now that we're getting so many people who are coming to the logging camp to work, it would be great if we had one large home so that they could share a heat source and whatnot. But our logging camp is looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. I think it's really coming along nicely. We have 5 people now. We started with 1. I mean, technically it's like 4.5 because Larry is small, but he's growing. He's actually 3 years older than he was when he joined the colony. So, it won't be too long and he'll still be sweeping the floors, but yeah, he'll be bigger. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and call this episode 1 of our Logging Empire mini-series thing that we're going to be doing here, kind of like a challenge series. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you have any ideas for mods and different things like that, or opinions about the series, if you want to tell me it's completely dog shit, be sure to do so. It really helps with the algorithm and all that junk. But thank you guys ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to have some more episodes coming out to you guys before too long. That way we can all enjoy it. This is kind of like a little Christmas mini-series for December, I guess. I just wanted something fresh to start on. I know we just recently started our biotech series, but I don't know. I thought that this would be fun, and I like playing with mods, and I want to do kind of like a little challenge thing, so I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope you continue to enjoy. Thank you guys ever so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.